Cowherd, should the NFL be concerned about all these fights?
No, it feels like reality setting in week 9 and 10 and really frustrated teams and players. And all of a sudden, Tampa gets in a game where they're being humiliated. Cincinnati, they're losing their patience. Pittsburgh's pulling away. I don't want to overreact to it. I just think you can sense sometimes in a season, we're at a breaking point. The next couple of weeks, some teams are toast. And I think Cincinnati's getting, that was a weird one because AJ, that was pretty early.
First quarter.
Yeah, I wouldn't overreact to it. I don't know, Bucky.
I'm going to overreact.
You are?
Yeah, I'm going to overreact. I think they should be concerned. AJ Green's on a bad team, and he basically asked out of the game in the first quarter. That's what he did. By doing that, he knew he was going to get tossed from the game, in my view. He's frustrated with the Bengals. Then I go over to what Mike Evans did in New Orleans. This is way out of bounds. He's been suspended. Jameis Winston started this. And then I look over in Santa Clara, and I see San Francisco and Arizona. And overall, a lack of respect for the integrity of the game is what I wrap all this under the umbrella. Too many players don't respect the game, in my opinion. They're concerned about how they use their platforms. They're concerned about their celebrations. They're concerned about social issues, not about respecting the game. And this, to me, is just a clue, to me, a peek into a window. And you just can't take a handful of players and associate the entire league with it. But there's enough players in this league that I don't think respect the game, and that's what I think this is a product of.
I think it's a combination of things. I do believe that you have a new generation of folks that kind of put their own interests over other interests of the team, but I do think the frustration has set in. The common denominator with all the guys that engaged in the fights, they're on teams that were losing teams. And Tony can talk about this. When you're losing, there's nothing like putting in all the time and energy into trying to win a game and week after week coming up short. I think you're seeing A.J. Green and some of the other guys, Mike Evans, they're tired of losing. And the frustration builds to the point that when you're getting whooped on the field, you want to explode. I thought we saw a couple of those explosions on the field play out.
Yeah, I told this story earlier today. I remember when I first came into the league going against Denver Broncos and Bill Romanowski. And Bill Romanowski, after my first game or whatever, he started punching me in the face, and I didn't do anything about it. And I remember I got back to the locker room later on that week. Dale Carter, who's crazy, the defensive back, he came up to me. He's like, don't you ever let anybody do that to you again. I don't ever want to see that. I'll fight you if you come into the locker room and don't. And I learned, like, you got to serve justice in this league. So when you get a cheap shot, like those were, a couple of those things were little, you know, that little poke in the needle on you type stuff. You have to defend yourself. You have to serve justice. Otherwise, you will get kicked around the league. You know, and I think that's what happened here. And you have to send a message that you're not going to be a punk. You're not going to let anybody mess with you. But get the 15-yard penalty. Don't go full bore. He went full. A.J. Green lost his mind on this one.
It's incredible.
Mike Evans lost his mind.
And A.J. Green's not that guy.
Yeah, and you're not that guy. And
no,
you know you're going to kick that after this.
Yeah, I think Jalen has his goat. I think the telecast, they showed Jalen and him engaged in a bunch of little things after the whistle, the blocking, the unnecessary stuff. And also, at that point in the game, A.J. Green only had 1 catch for 6 yards. And I know Jalen Ramsey had been talking to him nonstop. Sometimes, reach a point, even the most composed player can go to that line, and I think Jalen Ramsey got his goat.
There's also,
and he exploded.
To your point, players have never made more. There's more pressure. There's more egos. It's a new generation of players. You know, and I sometimes I think, you know, I always think about Michael Jordan never dealt, Roger Staubach never dealt with social media. And social media pumps you up and empowers you, and you're the man. And I'm not blaming players. It's like, Obama was the first president that dealt with Twitter. Ronald Reagan didn't. Jimmy Carter didn't. It's a real living, breathing thing. And I think players are different today. They're a little more empowered. They watch NBA guys. Now Odell's getting shoe deals. And I do think there's some egos involved and entitlement and feel better about them. And by the way, another interesting point is the celebrations. The league's now encouraging more personality, and so the players have more, you know, chutzpah.
Again, what I'd wrap all of this under the umbrella, there's a lack of respect for authority. And you can't have that in football. You can have a lot of that in basketball. But in a game as violent as football, if there's not clear lines in the sand, don't go. You don't. someone else is in control, someone else, there is an authority that you all have to respect. If you don't have that in football, things will go over the edge like we just saw this weekend. Mike Evans, to me, clear, way over the top.
He could have put him out. He could have ruined his career.
Jameis Winston started it, and then the Lattimore, his response wasn't even, it didn't require any response, let alone that over-the-top response. Lack of respect in this league. I don't like it. That is how Jameis Winston's going to be remembered. That video.
What's going on? What just happened there?
You have kids. You ever just watch your kids do something and their kids think it's hilarious, and you're a dad going,
listen, he came out of the game because he aggravated his shoulder injury. Yeah. Now they're talking about they're going to sit him down for a couple of weeks. Colin, this smells like bust. We got the B and the U.
No, I'm not. Wow. I don't think he's a bust. Here's the thing. All these NFL quarterbacks are exactly what they were in college. So Johnny Manziel was uncoachable and a brat. He was in the NFL. Cam was incredibly talented, a little bit of a showboat, is in the NFL. By the way, Jameis in college threw a bunch of picks, was likable and talented, but sometimes had odd judgment. Yesterday, he gets into a little fight. He does the strangest thing I've ever seen before a game. Isn't he kind of what we thought he was? He was a little odd in college, talented, but you were always like, he needs to grow up a little.
You know what a W tastes like?
I don't even want to know what this is.
Chicken.
It tastes like chicken.
This smells like
You feel he's a bust.
He's headed on that path. You know, what I've always called him is Gomer Pyle. I mean, that's who he reminds me of, is Gomer Pyle. He's well-intentioned, but he's a goofball.
He is.
And that's not a guy that's going to lead your team. You're not, after the guy eats his fingers, you're not following him through that brick wall.
Come on, Tony, are you?
No, I just couldn't imagine. I mean, if I was 15, 16, 17, looking at somebody do that, I'm like, that's my quarterback right there, doing something ridiculous. Look at Deshaun in the back.
Look at Deshaun in the back. He doesn't even get it.
That's what the old vets are like, what the hell is he doing? Like, he lost his mind. And then during the game, too, when he went up and he pushed the back of that guy, of the neck of, I forgot who it was. I don't know if
could have been Lattimore. It was one of those DBs.
One of the DBs, and then he pushed him like that. That was absolutely uncalled for, first of all. And that made me lose a little bit of respect for him.
Yeah, right there,
like,
Lattimore.
Look, watch this. When he does that is that little kid stuff. That would tick me off, too, if somebody did that to me. Like the whole face mush or whatever. That's disrespectful. Coming from a quarterback who's supposed to be this franchise guy, with before the game stuff, doing this type of stuff, I know Dirk Cutter. I had him. He was my coordinator. I absolutely believe, he might be a little banged up, but Dirk Cutter's sending him a message right now saying, we don't do that.
I agree with Tony. I do feel like
you embarrassed the whole franchise.
I think Tony's right on that. It feels more than just
maybe.
U.S.
You know what?
Bust.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to go that far.
We're headed
say
there.
He's a bust. I don't think he's a bust because even if you look at his record, you can look at the number of games he's won. He got onto a bad team. He was picked the first overall number one pick because it was a bad team. They had no defense. That's why you got Lovey out of there. You couldn't stop anyone from scoring.
But Eric, he's got some weapons.
He has some weapons now, but he's not healthy. So that has a lot to do with it. And I still think the skill set and everything that he has is not bust material. He has weapons around. You got to get the rest of the team there, and I think he'll be okay. I'm with you, Tony. Some of the things that he's doing, the childish stuff has to stop. You can't go out there trying to mess with the rookie. I mean, because when you got to understand the position that you're in. When you're the quarterback, you go out there, you mess with that rookie. He turns to you. Now Mike Evans comes in trying to end his life. Yeah. And you get Mike in trouble. So these are the things you can't do as a starting quarterback.
Here's the thing. You can tell physically. It's not that you go, I can remember watching Jimmy Clausen. Troy Smith from Ohio State, and you're like, oh, that's not going to work physically. Not going to work. And then there's guys like Johnny Manziel. His DNA was spoiled. I do feel with Jameis, he's immature, but he's well-intentioned.
Gomer Pyle?
I think you can grow out of that. Like, I think
Yes,
you can
I
grow
do.
up. Like,
And that's what I think is gonna happen.
Johnny Manziel at 35, you're not going to trust him picking you up at the airport. Like, I mean, I'm just not going to trust him.
Well, hold on.
So Jameis is a big,
Just
strong
remember
kid.
this about Gomer Powell. He was the same way in the Andy Griffith Show as he was when he joined the Marines. He never grew out of it. If you're Gomer Powell, you're Gomer Powell.
He is 23. He's 23.
23?
Isn't Winston 23?
He's got a-
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's a baby.
He's a baby.
And that's what I'm saying. He's still growing up, and I think he can. He's talented enough, but you're gonna have to.
boy.
But you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to put some pieces around him right now.
Bama. He's Bama.
And there's nothing wrong with
And
that.
he's gonna be
There's
Bama.
nothing
Come on.
There's
long-
Joe
nothing wrong with
Namath
that, Whit.
played at Bama.
You got to put some pieces
He
around
wasn't
him while
Bama,
he's
though.
young.
Joe was Joe Willie Cool. He was New York. This guy is Bama.
He's
This
made.
guy just may not be ready to be the voice of the team yet.
But
Just because he's a quarterback,
there are moments,
you make him that.
By the way, Eli Manning, for about 4 years in this league, was a turnover-plagued mess. And
This isn't about turnovers as much as it is about that's a goofball trying to be your quarterback. And so quarterback are for the cool kids.
But what he's still doing,
Seriously?
but what he's doing the rah-rah stuff you do in
Yeah.
high school and college because he is still young like that.
I like that.
Surprise, surprise.